In this video, we'll talk about how to build a random number game. The rule of the game is simple. The game will show you two randomly generated numbers, and in between that is the greater than sign. So basically, the game tells you that the first number is bigger than the second number. And because this is randomly generated, it can be true or it can be false. So as a player, you have to say whether this is true or this is false. If you choose the right answer, you will get 1+ score, and you get to do that again. And if you choose the wrong answer, you lose. There are two ways you can lose the game. One is by choosing the wrong answer, and another is by running out of time. You can see the progress bar above the true/false buttons. This tutorial will teach you how to generate random number in Swift, and also how to use progress bar. And we will show you how to move from one view controller to another using Segue, and also how to move back using Unwind Segue. So let's write some code now. Let's create a single view app. Next, I'm going to put the name random Okay, now the first thing that we want to do is to do some interface. So the first screen that will be showing is the main starting point. So I'm going to show a button. So I'm going to choose a button, drag and drop here. For this button, I'm going to say start game, and we'll set some constraints. I will make it center horizontally and vertically. All right, and I will need a label as well to display. This label will be displaying the score from the previous game. So I'm going to say it's horizontally aligned in container. I set some space, vertical spacing from start game, and I want to say previous game score, previous score. Let's just say previous score. Now let's just put 0 for now. Okay, and that is it for this screen. So the code behind this screen is view controller.swift. So this will be the code that will control the interface, the first one. And we're gonna need another one, which is for the gameplay itself. So I'm gonna drag in a view controller in here, and I will hold control, click on start game, and drag it and release on the new view controller. And I'm gonna say show. This will create a segue. Segue is basically a connection from one view controller to another, and whenever you click on start, it will display this new view controller. And you can click on this segue, and I don't like to have animation when it displays the new view controller, so I'm just gonna uncheck this. That is it. And so in the next view controller, the gameplay, we will need a label. This is gonna be on top here, and this is for score. Now let's say score 0 for now. Let's add some constraint. So left 16, maybe top to 16 as well. Okay. Let's have another label. This time is for the random numbers. Let's say 0 is bigger than 0 for now, and let's change the font size to something probably 60 points. Yeah, that should work. Now I'm gonna line it center horizontally and vertically. That's it. And then we'll need a view so we can put the two true and false button in. And the easiest way is to use stack view. We will use horizontal stack view. This stack view is just a regular view, but when you put something in that, it will stack up horizontally. Now I'm going to put a button, two buttons actually. So I'm going to drag in this one. And all right, so first of all, let's undo this. Let's set some constraint for this. I'm gonna say 0, 0, 0. I'm gonna add some height. Yeah, okay, just leave it there. 1, 1, 0. Okay, now you're good to drag the button in. So if you drag just one button into the stack view, this button will take up the whole space. If you drag in another one, it will go in there, but it does not fill it equally. And what we want is to have the two button fill the space of the stack view equally. So we will select the stack view and we go to distribution property, and we'll change from fill to fill equally. Now we have the two buttons equally fill in the stack view. For the first one, let's change it to true. Let's change the second one to false. I'm gonna change the background color to something true, right? True, let's a little bit blue. And the color to white. I'm gonna change this to white and background color to something like this. All right, and let's increase font size a little bit. Let's say 20. Yep. All right, so I can see that this label, it's a bit like down. So I want it to go up a little bit. Now I'm gonna click on this. This is the vertically aligned constraint, so it makes the label align exactly at the center of the view. Now I'm going to click on this, and you see that in this there's this property called constant. So if I click and I change to, for example, 40, you're going to push it down 40 points. But if I say minus 40, well, go up a little bit. So this is what I want. Okay, and we're gonna need another view. This is called progress view, or I like to call it progress bar. Well, actually it's progress bar, right? I'm gonna drop it right above the stack view and fill the width. I'm gonna set some constraints. This 0 to the left, 0 to the right, also 0 down. And I'm gonna set height as well. Height, I will say 6 points. Okay, add 4 constraints, and here we go. Now I will change progress tint, which is the color of the progress. I'm gonna say green, right? So you just see that it's changed to green, and the height constraint will set to 6, but for some reason in my Xcode it does not change the height. Let's try something else like 10. It doesn't change, it just change the position. I'm going to change back to 6. Let's run to see if it actually changed or not. Alright, so this is the first screen. We'll click on Start Game. It show, well, the progress bar actually change height when the application runs. So I think there's problem with the storyboard editor here. Everything okay, it works fine. Alright, so now the progress bar, the way the progress bar works is that it look at the value of progress. Progress can be 0 to 1. It could be from 0 to 1. So 0 is nothing, and if you increase up to 1, it will fill the progress bar. And if you take it down, 0.9, 0.8, 0.7, so just go down like this. So in our game, we will work with this. We will start with 1, and then we'll subtract until 0. And if it's 0, the player run out of time. That's it. So I think the next thing that we need to do is to create another Swift file. So let's right click on the folder, the random number game folder, and then new file. Let's choose calc-attach class and make sure that subclass of is set to UI view controller. If not, go and change it. And I'm going to say gameplay view controller. That is the name of the class or in the file. Next, save. And here we have the gameplay view controller.swift. And we will make this file the code behind the gameplay interface. Now, to do so, you click on this yellow icon, click on this, and then you go to Identity Inspector, and in class, you will say the name of the file, the class, actually the name of the class, gameplay view controller. Okay. And now what we have to do next is to connect the interface with the code behind, which is gameplay view controller.swift. So to do so, we're gonna need to open up Assistant Editor, which is on the right top corner. You see the icon with 2 circles. Click on that, it will display another panel. And so if you click on this, make sure that right up here it says automatic and gameplay view controller.swift. If not, for some reason, it's gonna probably show something like this, manual blah 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 blah. And so this is not the right file. You need to click on this, go to automatic, and then change to gameplay view controller.swift. This is the actual code behind this interface. Now we don't need this right now. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna connect all these into the code. Now we'll connect score first. So control, click, drag, and release. I'm gonna say score label, and make sure that the connection property is set to outlet, and the type is UI label. Right? Connect. This one also, control and left click, drag, drop, outlet, and this is I'm gonna say numbers label. I'm gonna say num label. It's short. Oh, what's wrong with me? Label. Come on. Connect. And then progress bar. All right. So click on this. If this is too small, you can click on it. You can also click on this panel. You see, we have all the views here as well. So we can click on this, and then we'll do the same thing. Control, drag, and drop there. I'm gonna say progress view. Okay. We're gonna need to create 2 action. 2 action is like events in other program. So basically we want to do something when user click on true or click on false. So you click on this, control, click, drag, and drop. And this time we do not choose outlet. Instead, we'll choose action because we want to create action, right? So the name of the action is, I'm going to say true did touch, and the type is UI button. Make sure to change this. It's always a good idea to change type to UI button. And connect. And I'm going to do the same thing with false. So control, drag, and change to action, and false did touch. Okay, and let me show you this. For some reason, if you forget to change from outlet to action and you click this, it will create an outlet, an IB outlet instead of an IB action. And if you delete this, you will get error when you run. So do not do that, but instead click on false, click on whatever you want to delete, click on false, and go to this, go to show, go to this, show the connections inspector. Click on this, you will see in the referencing outlets, you see false did touch and gameplay view controller. Now you can click on this X icon to remove it. So you can see that these two, they are different. This one has the black dot inside the circle, this one does not, which means that it does not connect to anything, so it is safe to delete now, right? So this is just to show you if you accidentally choose outlet instead of action. Now let's do that again. Control click, drag, drop, and choose action, and let's say false did touch, and this is UI button. Okay, I think that we have connected everything. So I showed you how we can use Segue to move from the first screen to another, but I haven't showed you how we can move back using Unwind Segue. We can do so by going to View Controller, the first one, and this is its code behind. You can also open this file, viewcontroller.swift, but since we're already here, so let's write some code. Now, to do Unwind Segue, you have to remember that you have to write a function, and that function must be written inside the file of the view controller that you want to unwind to, or you want to go back to. So we want to go back to this view controller, so we write this function inside here. So we're going to say add IB action func. The name can be whatever you want. I'm going to say unwind to main screen, yeah, and the parameter segue UI storyboard segue. The function doesn't need to have its body, just the declaration that's enough. So you have this function inside this the first screen, and if you go to the second screen, if you want to create this kind of segue, you can click on this, control and drag, and then release on this exit sign. This the kind this icon is kind of like the exit icon, like something like this. So control click, drag and drop here. You'll see the name of the function that you just created. So unwind to main screen with segue, right? So check that. When you click on this, it will create this segue, unwind segue to unwind to main screen segue. Now click on this, go to attribute inspector and set the identifier. I'm going to say go back. So, and remember the name. All right, go back. We will call to perform this segue from the code, right, using the identifier. Go back. Okay. Now, I think that we have connected everything. Now, if you want to go back, let me show you how. Let me show you. If, for example, if you click on true, did touch. If you click on true, if you want to go back to the first screen, we want to just say perform segue with identifier, go back. All right, self, that's it. Now, if you run the application, start, we move to the next screen. I click on true, it will call to perform that segue and go back with animation. I don't want animation, so I'm going to select this again, and in the attribute inspector we'll see that animates is checked, so I'm going to uncheck that. All right, so we're good. Now we don't want to do this and through the touch, so let's just delete it for now. Okay, all right. Now we are good to start writing code. Okay, so I will be writing some function. Let's say we need a function setup to set up the game, and we need a function, I'm gonna say game loop. This is to run every time and check the condition, and it's just a game loop, right? So it's run all the times, run in loop. Okay. All right, so the first thing that we want to do is to work on generating random numbers. So I will declare some variables. I'm gonna say num1 equal to 0 for now, num2 equal to 0 as well, and I'm gonna say we're gonna set some variable as well, min ran to be 1 and max ran to be 10. So this is basically just to set some variables to say that we want to generate random number between 1 and 10. Right? And I think to generate random number, that is enough. So yeah, okay, I'm gonna create another function called reset game. Right, so when setup, when view did load, I'm gonna call to setup. In setup, I'm gonna say score. All right, we need another variable called score, which will store the player score. So when set up, I'm gonna say score equals 0, and it will call to reset game. Now in reset game, we will first of all generate a random number. Okay, I'm gonna say num1 equal for random uniform of we're gonna need to convert this to uint32, and inside there it will be max ran minus min ran plus 1. So this will, I'm gonna need to convert it to integer because num1 is integer. This will generate a random number between min between 0 and max minus min ran minus min ran. Actually 1, it doesn't count, so max minus min ran is 9, right? So this statement will generate random number from 0 to 9, and we want from 1 to 10, so we'll need to plus min ran. All right, so we'll do the same thing with num2. We'll change to num2. Now that we have num1 and num2, we'll assign it to the label, and we have num label, right? Num label dot text equal okay, num1 bigger than or greater than num2. All right. Okay. So I think that is it in reset game. Let's try to run the application and see if the random number really works. Start, we'll see it's random. Now let's start again. Okay, start for bigger than 5, which is false, right? All right, so it works. Now stop. Now I will need a few more variables. Time left. Let's work with time. So time left right here, we're going to say 2 seconds for now, and a variable given time, which is the total time that's given to the user, to the player, 2 seconds. And let's work on progress bar as well. Now I'm going to say progress equal 1.0, which is the maximum progress that we can get. And because we working on this already, let's say we'll create another one as well, answer. So user answer could be true or false, right? And let's create another variable called timestamp. I'm going to set it to 0.02. So this is basically just the how often the game loop will run. So we'll set this in the game loop. We'll set timer, and so that every 0.02 second it will run a function game loop once. Okay, and in order to do so, we also need timer. I'm gonna say timer equal it, which is the type of timer. Okay, I think that these are the variable that we need right now. Now in reset game, let's work on time left. So when reset, we're gonna reset time left as well. Then we're gonna say time left equal given time, right? And we're gonna reset progress as well. Progress equal 1.0, and let's set progress view dot set progress to be progress, and then animate false. I don't like animates. Okay, and I think we're gonna need to convert. So we're not to convert back to float. Why don't I put it float? So progress is float, right? Okay, let's put this as float. All right, and because progress is float, time step should also be float. Okay, now in game loop, we'll say when set up, we're gonna say score equal to 0. Reset game, so that the numbers are randomly generated again, and reset time left, reset progress, and after that we're gonna call to game loop function, right? And in game loop, we will, so every time the game loop runs, we're gonna minus time step, which means that every time it runs, we're gonna take out, we're gonna subtract time left by time step. And it says that binary cannot be applied. Let's put time left as float as well, and then let's put given time as float as well, because by default, if you do not specify it, it's gonna be double. All right, everything okay now. And let's say progress equal to time left, because progress is from 0 to 1. We're going to say time left divided by given time. So if time left equal to given time, which is after reset the game, it will be 1, and then time left start going down, so progress will also go down, right? And right here we set progress view dot set progress progress and animated false. All right, so we should see the progress bar going down if we run the application. Let's run the application now. Start the game. Oops, there's nothing going down. Well, that's because we forget to make it loop. Now you see that this is called only once. So I'm gonna say timer equal to timer.schedule. Let's choose this. So timer.schedule timer, time interval, target, selector, user info, and repeats. So for time interval, I'm gonna say time interval, and in there we'll put in time step. So every time step we will schedule a timer, and that timer will run the function in the selector, and that is game loop itself, right? And user info nil, repeat false. We don't want it to repeat itself because we already call ourselves. So right here is that we set timer, we schedule the timer. What is wrong with this? All right, we need to add objc to the function, so we'll add this. Okay, so right here what we do is we schedule a timer to run every time step, which means to run every 0.02 second, and every time it runs, it calls the function game loop, right? So every time, every 0.02 second, it will call to game loop once. Okay, and every time it calls, it will subtract the time left by time step, all right, and change the progress. Now, if we run the game again, we run the application again, that game application, whatever. Okay, and start the game, you should see that the progress is actually draining out. Now we have to check if the progress already gone, it's game over, right? Okay, now let's continue game loop. So right here we'll check if I'm gonna check time left instead of progress because it's the same thing actually. If time left equal to less than or equal to 0, I'm gonna game over. So I'm gonna perform segue with identifier go back, center self. So this is what we talked about, right? We perform segue with identifier go back, which means that we call to unwind segue, and the first view controller will appear. Okay, so yeah, I think that's it. I think it's good to put it up here instead of below schedule. So if time left already less than or equal to 0, we just go to go back to perform segue. It doesn't matter. You can put if below schedule timer. It's also okay. All right. So if you go click start again and start the game, it goes and it goes to the main screen, right? Again, boom, go back. Okay, go back. All right, that's good. I think that 2 seconds is very long. Let's put just 1 second. Okay, so the given time is 1 second. Time left at the start is 1 second as well. So let's run again. Let's see if it's fast enough, reasonably fast. I think that's reasonably fast. It's not too fast. It's not too slow. 1 second is good. Okay, now we'll see that the condition that will check whether the player has run out of time already work. Now what we have to do is to check whether user clicked the answer correctly or not. Okay, so we see that this already also changed randomly. Okay, now let's work on function true detach. So this is when user click on true, and we'll see that previously we declare a variable called answer, and so right here when user click on true, answer equal to true. When user click on false, answer is false, right? And so here we will check answer, and because there are two locations and we need to do just the same thing, I'm going to create another function called func check user answer. Okay, so right here we're gonna say if answer is the same as num1 bigger than num2, user is right, right? So if user so if num1 is bigger than num2, and whatever it is, whether it's true or it's false, and if user answer true or false and match it and they match, user is correct, right? If user is correct, we will if user is correct, we will add score, right? We will say score plus equal 1. So add 1 score to the user. We update the score label. Text equals score. Score. And then we call to reset game. Reset game will reset the timer and reset the progress view, and also random the number. We will get a new random number. That should be good. Otherwise, if user answer incorrectly, again we perform the segue with identifier go back, which means game error, right? I think that's it. If we run the application again, we should be able to play this game now. Start game, boom. Oh, come on. Start game. Something is not right, right? Whatever we click it, it's not right. It's not right. Now, let's see what is not right. So when view did load, we call to setup, and oh, we forget to call to check the answer. Okay, let's check the answer when we click on true, false. Okay, again. Start. Yeah, it works. Oh. Oops. All right, now let's work on previous score. Now you need to have a way to pass data from the gameplay screen to the first screen, the main screen, which is from the gameplay view controller back to view controller. Okay, so the way that we can do this is through segue again, right? So remember that we have a segue called go back, right? So in the gameplay view controller, we're going to create a function called prepare for segue, this function, and we're going to say if segue.identifier equal to go back, then we're going to get reference to the destination controller, which is view controller. Now remember that the unwind segue will transition from the view controller, gameplay view controller, to the view controller, which means that view controller is the destination, gameplay view controller is the source view controller. Now if I say dest.destination, I'm gonna say segue.destination, that is reference to view controller. Now we can cast it to view controller so we can work on that. All right. Now I want to go back to view controller a little bit, and I am going to connect previous score, control, connect. So let's say previous score label. All right, and I will also need to create another variable called previous score. Let's say equal to 0. Okay. Okay, so every time the unwind to main function is called, I will set the previous score label dot text equal to previous score, and I'm going to show the value of the previous score. Okay. All right. So let's go back to gameplay view controller. In prepare for segue, we can say dash.previous score equals score. Right, that is it, I think. Now let's start the application. Click on start. Let's get some score. Oops. Get some score. All right, 4. We see 4 right here. That's it, right? I think we have finished the game. I mean, we have finished coding the game. So let's try playing that. False, false. Oh, come on. False, 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 true, false, false. Oh, come on. Start game. True, false, 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 true, false, true, 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 false. Yeah, you get the idea, right? Okay. And that is it. I think that is it. Right. So just to sum up, let's recap. We have two view controllers. The first one is main view controller. This main view controller consists of two views. The first one is the button start game that will call to a segue. So we create a segue connection from start game button to gameplay view controller. So whenever you click on start game, it will open up gameplay view controller. We don't need to write any code to display this, because segue will work automatically. And we have a label to display previous score from the game, from the previous game. All right. And the second view controller, we have score up top here to display score of the user. We have the label here to display the randomly generated numbers, so that user can answer to that whether this is true or false. We have progress view that drain out all the time and telling user that this is the time that user have to answer the question, whatever it is. So answer, there are two buttons, true or false. And in the code, what we've done is that we use timer to call to game loop function every time step, which we will set to 0.02 seconds. So every 0.02 second, game loop is called, and every time it's called, we subtract time step from time left and update the progress view and check to see if time has run out or not. If time has run out, the game is over. So we perform segue with identifier go back to call the unwind segue that we created inside the view controller, making the game move to the main screen, the view controller screen. But if user click on true or false, click on the true or false, which means user answer true or false, we have to check the answer to see if this is right or not. If this is right, we increase the score by 1. We update the score label, and then reset the game. Reset the game means reset the timer and reset the and regenerate the random numbers, and we do all over again. So the game, unfortunately, there's no way you can win the game. But I think the way is to try to get the highest score as high as possible. All right, so I think we have done this. If you have any questions, you can comment in below, and don't forget to subscribe. We will have a lot more similar projects like this, which is small and easy to do. And if you are a beginner in Swift and iOS development, I think this is the right project for you. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and also comment in the video if you have any questions. Thank you.